Hi, Dr. Pat. Good morning to you. How are you?
I am doing great. Thank you very much for asking, and I hope you are doing well too.
Thank you so much for saying yes to be interviewed today, Dr. Pat. I'd like to introduce myself formally. My name is Nicolette. I am the creator for the podcast titled You're Worthless. Read that again. The juxtaposition of your very soul. Now, Dr. Pat, I would like to read a bit of introduction for our listeners today, and then we can get right into our conversation.
Awesome.
So, hey everyone, we have Dr. Pat Boulogne here with us, CEO of Health Team Network, who is a high performance mastery mentor, functional medicine doctor, and best selling author. Committed to enhancing health, lifestyle, and mindset, she empowers individuals with cutting edge solutions. Her latest program, the 15 Minutes Hollywood Facelift Without Surgery, exemplifies her dedication to innovative strategies. Passionate about simplifying high performance living, Dr. Pat guides individuals to achieve optimal health and happiness in less time. Her personalized programs address unique bio individual needs, leaving no aspect untouched. As a collaborative team player, Dr. Pat thrives on evidence based solutions for faster, simpler, and safer progress, helping individuals excel in their endeavors. Wow, wow, wow. Dr. Pat, a lot to unpack. Welcome.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. You did a good job on pronouncing my name. People usually slaughter it.
Yes. Okay, Dr. Pat. I'd like to take you and our listeners a trip down memory lane first before we get right into the nitty-gritty of things. Can you share with us what was it like growing up a as Dr. Pat Bullo?
Well, I was always the doctor and I was never the nurse. I never died. And to date, after 38 years of practice, I haven't had a patient, do that either.
Woo! Okay.
It's like I was very fortunate because my mother was I was the last of five kids. So, and my mother, by the time I came along, was like fed up with having children, and so she had built in babysitters. So I spent a lot of time with my three older sisters, and then my brother and they all used to say Pat and Mike, the Fighting Irishmen, because I was a tomboy. And I didn't have anyone to play with when I was growing up because I was the only girl in a 8 block radius. And
Right.
so I played sports. I played football, basketball, baseball, I went fishing, I dug up worms in the backyard, and those kind of things. But I was very fortunate. One thing about a positive about my mother was that she always ate really, like she ate from the garden. She did not eat from the grocery store. And that's one thing that I can give her an accolade for. And my father, I was fortunate because my father never, I would say, if I did something that was like questionable, like for instance, I ran away when I was 4 years old, and I didn't run away to run away, but Mikey across the street, who told my mother he was going to marry me, and also the teacher, they separated us when we were 4 years old. So, but we decided to go see the playground at the kindergarten that we were going to. It had a push merry-go-round, it had monkey bars and things like that, things that were normal then. And so we took off, and I asked my mother 3 times, like, can you take us? Can you take us? And she kept on saying, when I'm done doing what I'm doing. We knew what that meant. It meant it was never going to happen,
Yeah.
you know? And so we just left. And so when we came back, we ran into the cops. I don't even remember what street it possibly could have been on. But, what I realized is that I didn't look at the street before I left. And we didn't come back exactly the same way that we went. So we got lost. And so when the cops pulled up and said, are you Michael and are you Patricia? Mikey said, oh, yes, we're lost, we're lost, we're lost. And cops said, well, if you get in the car, I'll take you back to your house. And I said, I'm not getting in the car.
That's so creepy.
You know, I said, I'm not getting in the car. I said, I don't know if you're a cop or not. He
Yeah.
said, I have a police car and I'm in a police outfit. And I said, just because you're in a police car and you're in a police
Doesn't
outfit
mean that
doesn't mean that
yeah.
I'm 4 years old. So he just, and this guy called into the station and they got my mother on the telephone and they adjusted the squelch so it wasn't so like that kind of. And
Uh,
you could hear her voice at one point in time, but get in the car right now. And
okay.
so we got in the car and he took us home, but we're only like 2 or 3 blocks away. And I asked him, I said, if you're so smart, just tell me where Commonwealth, because that's the street I lived on. Tell me where Commonwealth is. And I go, we can walk it. And
Uh-huh.
so, but my father, when he got home from work, because he was told about all this ordeal and stuff like this, he said, he goes, he didn't say, he goes, I heard you had an adventure today. And I said, I did. And I said, it was really exciting. I was telling it, he said, tell me about it. So I told him about going across the street and losing my shoe and some old man going in the middle of the street, picking the shoe up and tossing it to me. We went and played. And on the way coming back, we didn't pick the right street. And so he just said, so what did you learn from that?
Yeah, exactly.
This is in 1959. He was like ahead of his time for, like coaching. What'd you learn from that? And I said, I learned to always know how to get home, and it's just like, and so that was like the one thing. It's just like, you have to pay, if you're leaving something, take a look around your environment so you know how to get back home and be where you're at, and then he said, I'm not going to ground you as long as your mother did, which was forever. He just said, you cannot leave the street, this block. You cannot leave this block without telling somebody where you're going. He didn't say you couldn't go. He just said you can't leave it without telling somebody where you're going. When it was such a different parenting from each one of my parents. And so, like, my father, I did a lot of things with him, like golf and, skeet shooting and things like that, archery, which I was really horrible at. But I had this like very lucky relationship with him when I was growing up, at that time that, there was like, go explore your world. Just be careful when you're doing it and don't do anything stupid. That was basically
Mm,
from him. So that's what it was like growing up. And I went to a private
mm-hmm.
school, and then I went to college. And then when I was in college, I decided I worked a little bit. I started working on an MBA, and my first class was this, elementary economics course. I hated it. I'm out of here. This is not for me.
No, I love that.
I hated it. And, it's just, it probably all stems from having, nuns when I was going to school, and that they didn't care if you learned or not. They just, would teach. And, you either caught up to them or whatever. And I had like an algebra teacher that was like the same way. And geometry was wonderful because I could see shapes and images and things like this. And I could see dimensions, when I was like, working out problems and things like that. But algebra, A plus B equals C, never, like, what does that really
It
mean?
wouldn't make sense. Yeah.
And like, or C plus C equals what? It's just like, guess what it is? And I'm thinking, well, if you have like C and D or C and B, it's got to equal A, or if you mind,
Yeah.
was not the case, X, Y, and Z. So, at any rate, so I finally, I went to chiropractic school. I had an influential friend who said, you got to go do this. This is good. This is great for you because, this is something that you can do your whole life. And you can help people while you're doing it. And so I eventually registered for it, organized going, and I never looked back, and I never went back home. I never moved around where my parents were at, ever again. And, and I visited, but I did not move back there. It was a place to be from, not a place to go, as far as I was concerned. And I was very fortunate because I live on the East Coast. I lived on Cape Cod, the mecca of summer vacations for people, and I made a very stable and very profitable. And then I moved to Boston and did coaching consulting. I started calling it coaching when no one was calling coaching.
Mm.
And I went to acupuncture school. And so I have an acupuncture degree also, so I'm a double doctor. Doctor.
Wow.
That's how I got to where I am today. Then, it's just like right now I'm in an office in Ithaca, New York. I'm helping a doctor transition out of his practice, and he's looking to retire. And, we got some things to tidy up there that he's not up to snuff on. Not him, but the office isn't up to snuff on. So there's things that you have to have in place for those kind of transactions to happen. So anyway, so far so good. And I'm doing some, personal coaching. I have my course, which is, called 15 Minutes to Ageless Vitality. And I'm dropping it in the chat here so that your people can see it. And if they're interested in taking a look at what the course has to offer, it's a 12-week course. And it's about facial exercise and about toning your face. There's an example in that you'll see of a couple people who had these incredible transformations. Like women have a tendency to get a dowager's hump, the hump in the back of the neck.
Yeah. This one. Yeah. Uh-huh.
There's a woman who's like in her like these who shouldn't have one of those. And in 9 weeks doing the exercises, she got rid of. Her daughter said, like, what happened to the hump? It didn't matter that she goes, "It's still there." She goes, "Oh, no, it isn't, Mom. Look at." She took a picture and she reached back and touched and it wasn't there anymore. And she said, "I struggled with that postural defect for years, for the majority of my life. And I always wore my hair down because I was embarrassed, and an 81-year-old woman who, with consistency, she did the program and then 6 months later popped up into a workshop just to say hi. When she popped in to say hi, I took a screenshot of her and she looks 57. She does not,
Wow.
it's not the same person. It is. She's got the same shirt on. I mean, as one of her original pictures. So that's big. That's a big blessing. And it's really great results. It's just consistent. There's 18 exercises, so it's very cool. And so that's what I'm up to. And I dropped that link into, so people can check out the workshop in the chat.
Also, I'd also, yeah, after the interview, Dr. Pat, you could also drop it over on my LinkedIn so I can
Okay.
also include it in the show notes afterwards.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I have a couple upcoming workshops, so I'll just give the link to the workshop and people can look at that and come to the workshop and at least learn 2 of the 18 exercises that we teach. But the fun thing that people just don't know, and they're going like, why is it that I get, and that's the reason why yoga really doesn't really get to the point quickly, is because the fascia around the muscle gets slack because the muscle gets weak. It's usually
Uh,
because of posture,
because
or
we're
we're like
yeah.
this all the time, and you sleep like that too. So how are you supposed to keep your head up? And so I have a really great hack for that I talk about in the workshop. So I'll give you the link to the workshop too. It's just the
Okay.
same thing that's in here right now,
All
except
right.
for it is just without the join. It's just askpat.org. Awesome.
Or I'm I am interested to know because my mom's 57 and she's also had this, I can see her like sometimes her back, like, punching like this. I'm like, Mom,
Hmm.
go to straighten it like that. Oh, yeah, it probably would work on her.
Hmm.
Okay. So, Dr. Pat, okay. Thank you for that answer. Thank you so much. Okay. I am just looking at the questions right now and I am very curious. What is Einstein's time? Hi, I'm Nierras, your host of the Your Wordless podcast. Now, if these real raw stories hit home, don't wait. Please follow, like, and subscribe my Spotify and YouTube. For bite-sized inspirational reels, follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Don't wait. Your transformation starts today. Thank you, and bye for now.
Times time is very cool.
Yes. Okay. I'm interested to know.
So Einstein's time is when you're like, we all know when you're in your groove. People who say like, "Oh, I have parking angels," and they go someplace and they get a parking space right in front of where they want to go.
Right.
You're
They
an
just
Einstein
pull up
time.
and then there's like an empty space just for you.
Right. You're driving and all of a sudden you get to where you're going. And it doesn't seem like you drove 6 hours, but you drove 6 hours, but it was like you were just in your groove. There was like no, like your energy
You're in
around
a
you was,
zone of genius.
it's
Like,
the same thing. Like it's pretty
mm-hmm.
much the same thing, your zone of genius, so that you're in your groove, in your space, moving along. It's really a great place to be. So I always say that when I work on patients and I go from patient to patient because I have a lot of patients in a day. When I do work, it's like it's like I'm in my zone of genius. I'm in Einstein's time because I can switch from one person to the next person. And I have a photographic memory. So I remember things that, or ask things that are very intuitive that they're like, how do you know that? So that's your zone of genius. That's your Einstein's time. Time is finite. After you lose it, you lose it. That's why it's so important to have good thoughts, do good deeds, and elevate and ignite your positive thinking from the moment you get up in the morning to the moment you go to sleep at night. And people who are toxic, you just push them away. Just,
Cut them off.
keep that veil of white light around you, so
That's
that
right.
when they're being toxic, you're going like, wow, thanks for sharing that with me. It just,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
take as soon as possible. Makes sense?
Perfect. Perfectly. Because I believe in cutting people off. The
Hmm.
moment they're draining you, it's not serving me anymore or where I'm about to go.
Well,
So thank you very much. I will be on my way.
uh-huh.
You can stay here, right where you are.
Well, in my industry, it's a little hard to do that. It's just like, excuse me, I'm not going to work on you today because, you're a little bit draining.
Yeah,
People are
that's true.
always draining who are sick, and so you really, as a physician, I really had to learn how to protect my energy,
That's right.
and so enlist at a distance, which some people might take as being not empathetic
Yeah. And they
because,
say, aren't you
you know,
supposed to be helping me because you're the
well,
physician?
what happens is that energy is very draining. And if
Oh
I'm
yeah,
seeing 20, 50 people a day, it's just like, each person has their own capsule in my head,
that's right.
and then when I leave that capsule, I leave them back their energy. Or when when people do that, if I'm out at some place, I would just take the palm of my hand and push their energy back. It's like, wow, thanks for sharing it with me. That was a really great idea.
I love that. So it's like you were
It's just a
visualizing
check.
it
It's a
because I
technique
mean,
that a lot of
yeah, it's a there. This is a
practitioners.
chakra point, right? So but yeah, that's a
And
good one.
I
It's a
get
good
there's
one.
no mean intention in that,
That's right.
but, it's just like if, sometimes if I used to when I first started practicing, I would go home exhausted, you
Yeah,
know, and then but, when I learned that technique, I never went home exhausted again, and so and people every person got 150% of me when I was with them,
yeah,
and it's just like I just learned to, like, back off their energy. I just say, "Okay, so stop. Let's
yeah.
start, let's go back to basics and what we need to do."
I love it. I learned
Mhm,
from one thing today. Create that protective energy, that boundary, and say, okay, stop.
mhm.
Push it
Absolutely.
back to them. Okay, Dr. Pat, thank you for that. So, what is your bestseller all about? And can you
I
share
have
with us,
4 of
please?
them. So,
Okay.
I have 2 collaborations. One is Business Mavericks, which talks basically about business and how I got into doing what I'm doing and why networking is so important. The other one is Your Deck of Success, which just recently came out last year at the end, right about now, last year. And then that book is all about, mindset, success, and why health is so important to have that mindset in order to move forward. But the book, Why You Get Sick, Fat, and Tired, why, not like what or how, but why are you sick, fat, and tired is all about why. And the first edition, is a great edition. Second edition is more specific because a lot of people going like, I might be a little chubby, but I'm not fat. Or, I'm not sick, and I'm not tired. So therefore it doesn't apply to me.
Mm,
But if you're a living, breathing human being, that book is for you. Because what that book does is it funnels down where to spend your time, your energy, and your resources regarding your health and where your weakest link in your health is. So it acts as a guidebook, a workbook, and an advocacy tool. So even if you don't take me up on my offer in the book to come and have a conversation with me about what your scores mean, you can go take those scores and go to a physician. And the best time to buy that book is right now because in the beginning of the year, everyone's always searching for an
resolution.
chocolate. Am I healthy? What do I need to do? Well, that
Yeah.
will set you on a path that is, and the path will be successful because you know where to spend that time. You know where to spend your money and you know how to choose. And it's a trustworthy book because all the questions are science based. People tell me my doctors never ask me those questions. So there's a lot of questions. It's a book of questions that lead you into looking at what your health pattern is and giving you a health snapshot so that you can make better decisions based upon your new education there and how to move forward with that.
And where can we get this book?
Amazon is a good place. I mean, I send people to Amazon all the time, but you can
Okay.
get, Barnes and Nobles would have to order it for you. You can order, but Amazon, everyone usually has an Amazon account, or
Right.
you supply the office because I give a discount for selling them
Okay.
in the office. So, but I'm in Quincy, New York, so I don't know how many people your listeners are all the way over here.
Yeah, my biggest chunk of my listeners are in the States. So,
Mhm.
so yeah. Okay. Perfect. So they can get that in Amazon. I'll be sure to include that in the show notes as well. Why are you sick, fat, and tired? Yeah.
Mhm.
That's
Yep.
like a question straight to my face. I'm like, why is she seeing through my soul right now? Well,
Well,
thank you
a
for
lot
that.
of people, the other thing about being sick, a lot of people don't know that they're sick. when you look at the definition of health as your organs function 100% of the time, at least that's what Merriam-Webster's dictionary says. And the World Health Organization said way back when, it's not just having the absence of disease or infirmities, because when you have the absence of disease or infirmities doesn't mean you're not sick. I mean,
That's
look
right.
what happened in COVID when they named it the virus COVID. And a lot of people were sick. And when you get the flu, if you don't have the immune system set up, then it can't respond. And so, because it's trying to take care of the COVID. So if you had other health related things going on, that's why so many
That
people died.
complicates it. Yeah,
It's just like
exactly.
they're sick and they didn't know it. I mean, that's
That
just the
is so
truth.
true.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, but it's like we've also heard like when you got the moment you got the booster, it's like all underlying medical conditions just like kind of surface. And then because I had my brother-in-law, he was diagnosed with sarcoma at the time, but now thank God he's remission free. But it's like after COVID, he had that after the booster. So the preconceived notion or our prediction was that he probably had that before COVID, and then when he got the jab, and that kind of like surfaced. So it's
Right.
like,
Well,
yeah,
a lot of the jabbing, if you really do look at the facts, not the summary sheets, but the
right.
fact sheets on the vaccines they want to give you, you should always read them before you get a vaccination, because a lot of vaccinations have a lot of heavy metal in it.
Ex-
And they have to have it for carrier purposes, because it has to be something that can go through the, in the blood and the such.
Yeah, yeah,
The Pfizer tried to subdue the information for quite a while. This isn't, my opinion. This
yeah,
isn't,
yeah.
and so it's just like, I always recommend, and I don't understand why anybody would get a flu shot and then get a COVID shot, because the COVID virus is the flu shot, is the flu.
It's the
And
flu
so
itself.
it doesn't make any sense to me why, and then up here, they're giving people both at the same time. And I think it's dangerous. I mean, it's just like, if you choose that route and it's a personal choice, then you need to be careful. And just because it's convenient
Yeah,
doesn't make it the thing to do,
yeah.
so, and then plus you're shedding, and, you're shedding that, vaccine wherever you're going. And it's just like, and I haven't been vaccinated. I mean, I lived my life without being not vaccinated. And,
And you're a different
and
position.
so, but it's my choice. I mean, it's just
Yeah,
like
that's
some
true.
vaccines would make really a lot of sense to me. Like,
Mhm.
I'm not anti-vaccine,
That's right.
but if it doesn't make sense to me, I'm not doing it.
Yeah,
And no one ever has proved to me why any of the vaccines for that particular virus. The virus has been around since in the 50s, they discovered it. And, it's just, and viruses keep on replicating. And when they replicate, they mute.
they're mutant.
And so they mutated. So like the one they found in 59 is similar to the one in 2024. It's
Yeah,
just mutated from then. So it's just like, it's not a different virus. It's just like the same thing. And the MNR proportion of it, there there is a lot of research coming out, and it'll be very fantastic for people with, I have a friend of mine who is a researcher in this, and they discovered a way to block the MR, the MR, I'm so right. Anyway, that virus, the MR virus, so that it isn't going to be able to replicate. And that's what his research does. He's a very good friend of mine.
wow.
And so just like, so I have some friends that do some really interesting research, but I love that because there's a way to, and they're doing it naturally, and they have the white paper to support it. He presented it in Europe, and everybody in Europe was like, Yahoo, kind of, and very supportive of him. He's in the United States, so he has the FDA,
Right.
and big pharma who doesn't want him to do that because they don't make any
Mm.
money then.
Yes, exactly.
Supporting big pharma, and it's just like, because they don't make money unless you're sick. That's their
It's
industry. If you're being
sad.
sick,
Yeah.
that's like, I don't support that. Food is medicine. All right.
That, that is so
Yeah,
true. I
the
mean,
rabbit hole, we
no,
don't want to go down any farther.
yeah, 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 exactly. But then knowledge is power. What we're trying to say here, I think people have to be aware of what, they want to do to their body and not just following the
Be aware of your
hard.
health. Ask a lot of questions. Like
Yeah,
why?
ask a lot of questions. Why?
Why
Why do
is
I
that?
take
How does that
this?
work?
Exactly.
How long does it take? How long does it stay in my body?
That's
It's
right.
just like, go on Chat GPT and ask what questions, proactive questions I should ask about whatever it is. Doesn't matter if it could be a surgery also and those things. So I've coached people and helped people mentor to ask the right questions when they go to their doctors. Because a lot of times people get very intimidated. They only have 15 minutes and the doctor comes in using 5 minutes. They're like, hey, Nicolette, how are you doing today? Why would you ask how I'm doing? I'm already there for a reason. It's just like, and so it's just like, I ask people, tell me how your back is. Tell me what's going
Mm,
on with you, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, socially, and energetically, because I want to know what I got to deal with today. And I want to know where it's coming from as a doctor. That's how I approach the clients and patients is from that point of view. I don't say, what's the matter? And then you tell me what's wrong. Why are you paying me? Why are you
yeah,
paying the medical doctor to tell them what's wrong with you? Looks like you're the
exactly.
one in school, not me. And I can tell you the symptoms, but symptoms doesn't, just because you have a symptom of something doesn't mean you have something. It could be, as we found out, during that time period, a lot deeper.
Mm-hmm.
It's something brewing. It's like, so when you make soup, you don't throw everything in and go, hey, we got the soup ready. You got to cook it.
Yeah,
It's the same thing when you're like going through chronic illness and disease. Something starts first, and you may or may not pay attention to the signs and symptoms of it, but it's brewing. Cancer doesn't happen like that.
that's right.
Diabetes doesn't happen like that. It happens from the things that you put in your mouth repetitiously that are bad for you. Yeah, go on. And
For
that's
reach
that is
bridge,
a
yeah.
whole nother. That is
That's
a whole
another
other
that's
episode.
another episode. Now we can have 2, 3, 4, 5 episodes for this alone.
But I don't mean to scare people. I just think be aware of your health, and ask questions. And if you don't get the questions answered so that you're clear and you understand them in your language at your level, go to a different doctor.
Get second, third
You're
opinion.
not, that person's not your doctor. Do as I
Agree.
say, don't do as I do. Because
Yeah.
there's doctors, not, medical doctors. I'm not a medical doctor, but medical doctors, that didn't take the vaccine either. I guess,
Mm,
it's like, do you vaccinate your children? And like, and why it's just like when I grew up, we had vaccines, like, like maybe 5 of them or 6 of them or something like that. There's no reason why children need this many vaccines. That's just absurd. Our immune system hasn't had an opportunity to develop yet. So I like that just baffles me. That is another episode. Okay.
oh, yeah, we need to have you on. Wow. Thank you, Dr. Pat. Oh my God, I am learning so much. Okay, Dr. Pat, is there, okay, hang on. What are the reasons why people really get sick? The three T's. What are these? Becoming a podcast host was a natural extension of my second act. Now, after spending 15 years in the corporate world, I've transitioned to helping individuals overcome challenges like navigating tough relationships, career burnout, and aligning their mission with their soul's calling. By certifying as an RTT hypnotherapist and a lifestyle coach, I've made it my mission to empower people to recreate the life they deserve and building a supportive community through my podcast. Now, let me ask, are you facing challenges like struggling to reprogram your mind to attract wealth, weight issues that feel like a constant yo yo, insomnia or restless nights from daily worries, or just a lack of confidence in public speaking? If the answer is yes, visit www.thenierrasholisticlifestyle.com and grab a free hypnosis audio of these common struggles. It's a sneak peek into how my coaching works. Are you feeling shy? Don't be, because I'm as real as it gets. Let's connect on Instagram and LinkedIn and start your transformation today.
People get sick because of 3 basic reasons. So we basically know the definition of health. So people get sick because of trauma, toxins, and thoughts. So trauma is things that happen from birth, like when you're in the birthing process and they're pulling down and pulling the baby out and twisting them and twisting their neck, they're grabbing their head. They're putting approximately 22 pounds per square inch on that cervical spine. And so there's damage, and sometimes the blood vessels break, and when that baby's coming out, because it's not in a position to be laying on your back and trying to drop 10 pounds, And it's just like, that's why the
Agree.
rice people who, are sometimes Asian, they worked till the day they were birthed, and when they did, they just, squatted down and the baby came out. Uh-huh. And then, it's just like, so that's one of the first traumas. Then you have falls and scrapes. You have carrying groceries on the wrong side or on the same side for 20 years, and you wonder why you're looking like this, and you have, like car accidents and whiplash so that it suddenly becomes your new normal
Mm.
after you're in some level of accident. So when someone starts to lose their posture in their head, only 5 degrees. Now, if 5 degrees is like a nod when you nod like this, 5 degrees, right? And so that puts approximately the size of a bowling ball weight on your neck, and so it's like, so if your head's like this, it's like carrying around a bowling ball on top of your head every 5 degrees. And so when you have good posture is the fifth pillar of health because posture is it's function. Function, is just like if you have good structure, you have good function. And if you have, or else it starts to wither away. And so that's the component of that's why you go see a chiropractor for, better alignment of the body and to be checked, to be able to do that. And so, that's the trauma part. The toxins are from the air that you breathe, the water you drink, the food that you eat, the gardening chemicals that you use, the things that you use to clean your house. You got to read labels. 55% of what you put on your skin gets absorbed into your body. It's toxins. It's got to do something. You want your body to just like live, or do you want to always be fighting off toxins? And the question too is like, if you're sick, are you sick or are you expressing health? Because if I'm sick, if I've got, I have a little bit left over of a mold exposure where I was at like over the weekend. And so I'm a little self-adjusted from that. So I don't consider being sick, I consider myself expressing health because by expressing that health, I have the ability to, it's like get
Yes.
rid of those toxins. Because if I didn't have the ability to do that, I would die.
Yeah.
So, I think of, when you have those kind of things, it's like if you have cancer, your body is like, and it's fighting it, it's trying to express health. It's not expressing sickness. So that mind shift, paradigm shift to have around things that happen to you, you know, it's just like there's a way to look at it. Like you either look at it as a glass half empty or a glass half full. I look at glasses as they're full, whether they have something in them or not because it's full of air. There's something in that empty glass, that looks empty to the visual eye, but doesn't necessarily mean it's empty. And it's just, it's that, although maybe a little semantics and play on words and things like that. Um, that's the aspect. And then the third reason why people get sick is because of thoughts. When you start your day off in the morning and you start like, it's gonna be a crappy day, it's rainy out.
Yeah.
I've got to go pay bills. I got to do this. I got to do that. It's just like every time you say something, you are taking your good vibration and you are smashing it into the ground. So if you say, and how are you supposed to attract abundance when you're saying how poor you are? It's
That's
just
right.
like you got to take a look for the things that your higher gratitude for, so you can attract the more things that you can be in gratefulness for. So if you want to have more money in your bank, you've got to think, it's just like, okay, I have a job that pays me $5 an hour. Excuse me. And so I want a job that pays me $10 an hour because I can make double the amount of money, right? So it's just like, okay, so that means you got to like it means you have to take action in order to be able to do that. you know? And if I see that, and if I keep on thinking about things in terms of deficit, then I'm operating from anger, from not being worthy, as opposed to operating from happiness. Because, when you're happy and you're in your Einstein's time and you're in
Einstein
your groove,
time.
right?
Yeah.
It's just like all those things are like you're going like, you know what? It's just like, everyone goes through some financial times. It's just like, I've had them too. It's just, and I just went like, okay, so that means that, instead of buying, a bottle of wine, I'm just not going to drink it. You can just do what you got to do in order to elevate that period of time, and put things to yourself like, I am healthy, vital, active, successful human being. Those are great affirmations to say. So if you start your day off with them and end your day with them, you have better results. End story on that one.
I love it.
Thoughts are huge. They can undo
A
whatever you
lot of
do
things.
to
Yeah.
7 times with how you fix your spine, how you fix, traumas and that inflammation. Because all those disease processes, by the way, that we talked about, diabetes, heart disease, high blood pressure, inflammation, arthritis, they all have one thing in common. It's the word inflammation. So the idea is to find out where the source of that inflammation is. And one of the ways that you can change inflammatory process in your body is by what you put in your mouth. You are not what you eat. You are what you have the ability to absorb. So if you have a bunch of holes in your intestinal tract, and it's not just one tube going from here to the bottom, there's certain areas along that tract that are important to absorb certain nutrients at a specific time. If you're absorbing them too soon, you become nutrient deficient. As a matter of fact, many people have autoimmune diseases because of that. So
Wow.
you
I
gotta
did not know that.
gotta
Okay.
take a look at, that whole spectrum. And I help people get out of that hole, and sometimes, some people always like, oh, you should be a comedian. And I go,
Yeah,
maybe,
you should
maybe,
have your
maybe
own
in the next
stand-up
lifetime.
show.
But I
Yeah.
like to laugh. I like to enjoy my life, and I like to see people enjoy life. I do a bend over backwards for anybody who's making an attempt to do that, so that they can, do good, have fun, and thrive. It's just like they just see thrive up here as something that's not attainable. You just have to connect the steps or connect the dots in order to get there. And thriving means something very different to every
Ev-
different person, right?
ex-
So it's just like I just tell people elevate that, whether they are an entrepreneur or an executive, or whether they're a leader or influencer. And I think moms and dads are leaders and influencers. They need to lead by example,
Yeah,
and
you
it's
start
just
in the
like,
house.
when I remember when I fell down, my father just said, get up, keep moving.
Yeah. Keep moving.
And,
Dust yourself off
and I
and
did.
walk.
And I did
Yeah.
because they're like, what's your choice?
Yeah.
It's just like, if you have spilt milk, wipe it up and move on,
Yeah.
and get, and then, and I really I hone in when I'm working one-to-one with people about having toxic people in your life. And some people you can't get rid of, because they're usually family.
Mm,
And like how to handle that better, so that, it's like your energy, they can't touch you,
it's
they,
preserved.
your character will become so strong that you'll have peace of mind 24/7. I love
Exactly.
seeing people do that.
Dr. Pat, you should have your own podcast.
I
Yeah,
am
maybe.
I am starting April 1st is my April Fool's Day. Is going to be I'm looking for that to be my launch.
Okay. Cool. Um,
Wow.
okay. Dr. Pat, wow. Yes, wow indeed. Is there a magic sauce for making lasting lifestyle changes?
Just do them. You have to say, is eating, dairy products bad for me? It is if you have lactose intolerance. Is drinking a gallon of milk a day bad for me? Yes, it is. It's like nobody should drink that much milk in a day. Should I eat fruit? You should really watch how much fruit you're putting in your body, because it doesn't get handled in the stomach. It gets handled by the liver. And you need your liver in order to get rid of toxins.
Toxins.
And people who have a lot of fruit have a tendency to have fatty liver. And fatty liver always precedes diabetes. So you got to know about, what is it that makes it healthy? And no one in this country, the United States, has ever really been trained to understand how to eat. Like the average person, in the United States, they just like, well, we used to eat this as a family. Well, if you keep on eating like your family, of course you're going to have the same DNA kind of conditions,
That's right.
and it's just like, you're
And it's
expressing your genetics,
reversible.
and you're
Exactly.
right? So you've got to change your epigenetics. You have to change your constitution. And one of the best, easiest ways to do it is what you put into your mouth. So, and I highly say, do not eat sugar. So, it's poison. And
It
so,
is.
like, it's like corn syrup, anything that has corn syrup. When I see these things on, you know, um, Instagram, and people are cooking and they're cooking with like vegetable oil, I want to throw up. All those things are making inflammation in people's bodies and making people sick. So it calls for vegetable oil. Use a different oil that's more suitable, that's healthier, like
Which
coconut
is
oil and things like that. And like also like, avocado oil, but just never use, never have avocado, oil on high heat ever. And don't bake avocados themselves, because they denature and they're no longer a monounsaturated fat.
right.
They're toxic for you then. So anyway, I could go on. I mean, I have a whole plethora of information off the top of my head on that.
Oh, Dr. Pat, you are just churning golden nuggets minutes after minute here. Like, okay. So, Dr. Pat, I'm aware of the time. So, I'm going to pivot to a self worth question that relates to my podcast. So, the question for you, Dr. Pat, how can someone balance the pursuit of external validation with the need for internal self acceptance and self worth?
Well, it's self-talk. And so there's three brains, primitive, mammalian, and conscious. So primitive brain will keep you in the self-talk of that you're not enough,
And
you're not worthy, you can't do it. And what happens is that things happen as you're growing up. And so there's imprints on the mammalian brain so that it makes the primitive brain really happy. Going, you can't do that. And the mammalian goes, yeah, I remember you had this experience when you were 7 years old. And then again when you were 18.
I protected you. You
Forever,
survived. Yeah, yeah.
and you're living and the conscious brain's going, but I don't want that. So it's like if you're going to say affirmations, always put them in first person. I am, not I will. I am. It's just like I am great. I am powerful. I'm a strong woman. And I want to see other women upscale and elevate and ignite their lives so that they stay strong women. All you got to do, I mean, if you want to diffuse somebody who's like you're having an argument with, or you're like in a disagreement with your like husband or, significant other or whatever, is just agree with them. It costs you nothing when you do that. You think it costs you, but it doesn't cost you anything.
Yes.
And sanity is more important than anything, than money, or winning at an argument. It doesn't matter. What matters is your sanity and your strong character, and when you do that, they don't know what the heck to say, and you can just say it and shut up. Don't say anything else, and don't say you're sorry, because save those for things that really happen, and so that's the thing that I can tell people that I see all the time, even as a physician, that's like, hey, move down here. I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong place. Just like, no, you're not. You're in the right place. You're in my office, And I said, number one, you're just sitting a little bit farther down because, and the reason why I have you move is because I don't like that end of the table because there's a spring loaded or something like that. And I want to keep you safe, So when somebody asks you or something like that, ask them why. Why are you asking me that? And then say, hey, and then if you have to apologize, just like, I apologize, and it's just like, what can I do to make it up to you? And be prepared to do whatever they ask you to do. But I think that people, to really uplift that mindset, you've got to start talking to yourself from the moment you get up in the morning. When you look in the mirror, like guys look in the mirror and they go, James Bond 007.
Yes.
So look in the mirror and
With
go,
the
James,
flexing and
and it's just like, put a little lipstick on every day, do your eyebrows, put some mascara on. I mean, it doesn't just like enlighten up your life by doing that. Make it into a ritual, because it's become ritual, and then reach out, I do acts of random kindness. So I have, if I'm going in a store and I see somebody coming in, even if they're my age, well, I don't look my age, but even if like, when I was in my 30s and 40s, I would still open the door and say, hey, you first, and it's just like, it costs me nothing to do that. But that for me is the way, to instead of having salt in the salt shaker or sugar in the sugar and the shaker, I can do shaker of kindness. I just think that when you clean out your own backyard and your own element, then, it's just like you heal yourself, you'll heal those in front of you, those behind you, and those around you.
around you.
And then you can elevate your house, and it's like, you can feel when someone comes in your house and, or you're in someone's house that has like really iffy energy, you know,
Yeah.
go, go burn some
Everything's energy.
Go burn
Yeah.
some incense. So it's just like,
Oh,
out
yeah.
incense that you resonate with. Sandalwood, or Sai Baba incense are probably some of the best incense. And bless your house. Bless it to the north, south, east, and the west. It's just make a circle around it. Put some white light in your energy field and just say, if you are a good spirit, you can stay. If you're a bad spirit, get away. It's just like, it sounds kind of like hokey, like you're 13 years old and doing these spells or that kind of thing. Your environment has that energy. Clean your house. If your house has 5 pounds of dust underneath it, you're breathing that in. And you want to know why you have respiratory problems. It's just like, and you've got to like, take, and use eucalyptus to help clean the air. I mean, you can easily do something like that. You can buy essential oils that are not very expensive. and you just put a little dab right in front of like if you're someplace that's cold, or in front of a vent, because it's just like you want to make sure that what you're breathing, when you breathe in and you breathe out, that's a stress management tool. And also, so is the affirmation. That's a stress management tool. So use them, do them daily, make them habits.
Doesn't
I'm
cost
I'm
you
a
anything.
successful human being. And I'm going to leave you with that one.
Wow. Thank you, Dr. Pat. Whew. Okay, Dr. Pat, we're going to go to the last question. If
Right.
you could create a quote right now for you to leave to the audience listening and the world as your legacy, what would it be?
Well, my favorite quote, and it's not mine, but my favorite quote is a rising tide lifts all boats. My goal is to take those massive boats that have holes in them and fix them so that when the tide comes in, your boat goes up too. Because a boat has a capacity. It might have the capacity for 2 people, it might have capacity for 6 or 27 or 100 if it's a cruise ship, that kind of thing. So you want your boat not to have any holes in it. In order to do that, you have to get straight your physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and social, and have that not just in harmony, but also have that in balance. So that quote's really, really important quote when you're looking at it. John Fitzgerald Kennedy, JFK, was the 34th or 36th president. I mean, it's just I'm American. I don't even know this.
Yeah.
Um, but he was president of the United States. That was his quote. And so, it's just like when you look at what the meaning of that is, because if you have a hole in your boat, you're going to take on water. And that's what happens in your body when you start to get sick, when you're not paying attention to your health. Awareness is so huge.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pat. Okay, now how can people reach out to you?
You can reach out to me if you're on LinkedIn, just as my name appears on the screen right now, Dr. Pat Boulogne. Also on Instagram, Instagram, the whole thing.com, then Dr. Pat Boulogne. Also on my Facebook business page, you can find it's Ask Dr. Pat, because for some reason they won't let me change it. I've tried for 10 years. I just gave up. And my website is healthteamnetwork.com. Now, at healthteamnetwork.com, what's important on there is that there's a microphone on the homepage. And you can scroll down and you can click on it and you can ask me any question that you would like. There's ways to make time with me on my calendar so that we can meet and we can have a conversation. If you go out to Amazon and buy my book, you have an opportunity to have a half hour with me it's complimentary, no cost to you. And we talk about your scores, and I can tell you how, first steps to do in order to improve you. Because you can't improve, you can't nurture someone else if you haven't nurtured yourself first.
Fill your own cup first.
That's my father speaking, by the way. That was his quote.
That was his quote. Wow. And there you have it, everyone. You've just heard an inspiring journey and incredible wisdom from Dr. Boulogne. Thank you for sharing the work you're doing to uplift others and make a lasting impact. Despite the challenges, you're paving the way for others, and your dedication is a true testament to resilience and purpose. For our listeners, this has been another thought-provoking episode of You're Worthless. Read that again. The juxtaposition of your very soul. Now, if you've ever felt worthless, know this. You're not alone. But here's the deeper truth. If you were truly worthless, why would your soul choose to be here in this exact moment in this lifetime? Your soul traveled from the infinite not just to exist, but to matter. And for that reason alone, you are worthy. And with that, I'd like to thank Dr. Pat Boulogne for joining us today and to all of you for listening. Until next time, I'm Nierras, your host. Keep shining, keep growing, and remember, you
And
are worthy and you are
nothing
enough.
was by chance.
And nothing is by chance. There you have it. Thank you again, Dr. Pat, and see you guys in the next episode.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.